I'm an atheist, but I believe that you don't really have to believe in religion to have morals. I'm a good person.
I agree.
Human nature. So.
You bet. All of my atheists have morals. But if you're an atheist, what you're going to have to acknowledge is my morals are not objectively right. They're just my morals. And they're not more true or more false than anybody else's morals. Right? It's all relative. Because remember, if you're an atheist, you're saying, my morals come right from here. Well, good. I'm glad your morals come from there. Guess what? So do hers and his and mine and his. It all just comes from here. And it all comes from a head that's happens to be white South African, happens to be KKK, happens to be Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump, and it's all relative. Nobody's right, nobody's wrong. We wouldn't be that arrogant, would we? We've got to acknowledge it's all right from here. It's all relative, depending on what you think. That's my only point. Now, my point is get married. And then look your husband in the face and say, you should not have done that. What? What do you mean, should not have done that? It's all relative, remember? So you got your opinion, your husband has his opinion. It's all relative. See, ma'am, you can't live out moral relativism. So you got a real problem as an atheist. You say there is no God, it's all relative, but then you live your life as if it's not all relative, especially when someone hurts you. It doesn't remain relative.
And so Friedrich Nietzsche talked about, from a human rights standpoint, if you look at an atheist perspective, you're going to have to come to the conclusion, he said, that if you value human rights, gender rights, then you're just borrowing from Christianity. That's just a direct quote that he said. So take it for what you will. It does make sense if you think about it. And then I would take that further too. There's a New York Times article that talked about how a white woman went to a small culture, where was it? Was it Rwanda? And she went there for gender rights. And she went there to help the women out. And she was kicked out of the country basically by the males saying, no, this is how we're doing things. And even some of the females didn't understand, okay, this is cultural. Why is it wrong for sexism to be rampant here? Who is this white woman coming to our culture saying that this is wrong? And she was shocked. She was absolutely shocked and went back dejected, and she talked about this in the Times. And so getting to that kind of thinking, there still needs to be a transcendent moral order, or you're simply going to have cultural differences.
Okay. To tell you the truth, I don't think my question came out, I guess, the right way.
What do you get?
I mean, there's people online.
You're good.
Okay. Well, see, like that. Okay, now I lost it. But we always try to make sense of it, of things. There's always a cause, cause to an end. Now, why should we hold so much trust in our own rationality? Like, for all, we are animals. Like, there are things that they're just too large for us to understand, like the beginning of the universe. I know you said this earlier, something can't just come out of nothing, but we don't know everything there is about the beginning of the universe. And so we naturally tend to claim that a divine being created it. But how do you think that it's just, it's not just our minds trying to rationalize something that can't be rationalized for our benefit?
Wish fulfillment, Sigmund Freud, that kind of thinking, where in some way we got to have this pie in the sky in order to help us deal with our problems, right? I mean, how can you trust ultimately your own mental faculties to really answer the big questions for us, right? It's a good point. In psychology, I had to study this. But ultimately, even Freud got to the point of saying, okay, but evil and original sin really do exist. That's where he did agree with the Christian faith, right? We're pretty messed up individuals when you think about the id, superego, ego. And so if you look at it from that point of view, we got to come to the point of saying, okay, if we are realizing that we do have a dark side and a good side, that's reason right there. And if we can reason that to start, then certainly we can start to get to the next step of, okay, a good and evil outside of us as well. And is that just an illusion? Probably not, right? But again, you're right. When it comes to the human rationality, there always will be a certain level of self-doubt, which is a healthy self-doubt.
Ma'am, I am not very intelligent. I had a 2.7 GPA in college, okay? So I am not very intelligent. But ma'am, I got a brain and I got to use it. Yes, it's easy to rationalize stuff. So that's why I better be able to critique myself. Am I just rationalizing? And yes, ma'am, I have just rationalized. But by gollies, watch out that you don't slip into, well, we can't know everything. You're right, I don't know everything. But I've got to do the best I can do with the brain I have. You've got to do the best you can with the brain you've got. And so I'm asking you, is it more reasonable for you to believe that amazing order and design comes about by chance, or is it more reasonable, more plausible for you to believe that order and design comes about from an intelligent mind?
I have this thing to believe that you don't necessarily have to follow the path of a divine being to really, I guess, help yourself with understanding. I don't know how to actually word this, I'm sorry. But I'm saying is that just because you're an atheist does not mean that you don't believe that you have a soul and that love doesn't exist. I believe all that. I believe that there's a difference between. But hey, no, I'm saying what?
All right, oh man, if you're let's start defining terms then. An atheist is someone who says there is no God. If there is no God, what is real? If there is no God, what is real?
The only thing that we can tell that is real is what's in front of us, the physical world.
Good. Very good. So if you're an atheist consistently, or if you're a secularist, you know what's real. Matter, energy.
And ourselves.
No. See, that's where I'm afraid your thinking broke down. You talked about a soul. Ma'am, if there is no God, there is no such thing as soul. There's matter and energy. What you call soul, if there is no God, is simply complex chemical reactions. Right? There's no soul.
But I don't think it's just a black and white idea. Just because I don't believe in a single God, or just God in general, does not mean that I don't believe in other things. Why can't I deviate from that?
You bet. Because when you say you're an atheist, you are describing reality. Reality as you see it is matter and energy. Beginning and end of story. Love is not a value. Love is a sex drive. It's a drive to preserve the genetic pool. It's chemicals, ma'am. Because remember, you've said there is no God. Well, if there is no God, what is real? Matter and energy. So let's not talk about love as if it's a real value, because it's not. It's just matter and energy. We happen to call that particular part of us love, but it's just chemicals mixing a certain way. That's all it is.
Doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
Yeah, but it's just a chemical reaction. It's not a value.
Okay.
You see, one of the reasons I'm a theist is because I've got free will. And guess what? I'm convinced you have free will. How do I know I have free will? Real simple. I can judge myself. I don't have to do what I do. And I will sit on the side of my bed tonight. I can promise you, tonight I'm going to sit on the side of my bed and I'm going to say, when you answered that student, good job, Cliff. When you answered that student, bad job. Don't do that again tomorrow. That was disrespectful, Cliff. You see, I'll judge myself, which means I'm not just a machine. I'm not just a bag of chemicals. I do have a soul, just like you do. And you know you've got a soul, meaning by that free will, meaning by that self-perception, the ability to critique yourself. You don't have to do what you do. If I slap her in the face and you ask me, hey, Cliff, why'd you do that? And I said, because I had to. You're not going to accept that. You're going to say, I'm sorry, Cliff. I don't accept that you had to smack her in the face. I'm going to hold you responsible for what you did. Well, I'm going to look you in the face and say, what on earth are you doing holding me responsible? If I'm just a bag of chemicals, I didn't choose to slap her, I just had to. See, the whole legal system in the United States is based on free will. You stole. You sexually discriminated. You didn't have to steal, and you didn't have to sexually discriminate. And we're going to hold you responsible for that, and you're losing your job, and you're going to jail. Why? Because you're free. And that's why we hold you responsible, isn't it?
Yeah. I would like to continue this, but there's other people.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right.